Cool. All right.
Beautiful.
All right. So here we are, Shoot the Mic podcast. We're actually doing a live streaming inside of Rifle Supply. It's pretty cool. We open it up to customers to be able to come in, ask us questions, or ask you questions, not me, because I don't know anything. So it's pretty fun. I think this type of engagement, people would obviously, when they feel your comments, they would love to ask you a question, right? So the fact that we're opening up here for them to give them that chance to ask you that question and to speak with you one-on-one, you know? So first, we're going to go, we have CRPA in the house, we have USCCA in the house, and we have a ton of our customers that are great and loyal customers, and we love them. So do we have any questions first?
Any takers? Yogi?
Yogi? Come on. You got to have some kind of question. I know you guys wanted to ask something, right?
Everybody's getting camera shy.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting camera shy.
So obviously,
CRPA, here we go.
We good?
Did you screen his question?
He did not. So now I know you do a lot of like cool big events and stuff. What's the like coolest gun you ever shot?
Ooh. I personally didn't shoot it, but it's always really cool when we go to drive tanks and they shoot the tanks and the RPGs. Like that's really cool. Like that's like once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
sometimes when they, do the machine guns off the helicopters. So like the last one they shot the tank, the RPG, and then the helicopters came through and then shot some tracers. So that was pretty cool.
That's
usually pretty fun. Yeah.
nice. I know 2 years ago we did the Armed in May with you at Route 66. And I mean, that was a fun event because same thing, like whether you wanted to believe it or not, like the crowd came to see you, to see Reno May. We feel like you're that voice for us to like break stuff down in layman's terms for us. You know?
I try.
Because, yeah.
Don't always succeed, but I try.
When like court cases and stuff come out, like the average person, like we don't know what we're reading, and and then you go back and forth with, like you were saying earlier, there's more channels that are now trying to do their own perception of breaking down the law, and I feel like they have their side that they want to be on, so that's how they interpret it. But I feel like you're just like down the middle, like, hey, this is what this is, and this is what they're fighting for, and how it is. Like you're literally down the middle and giving it to us as it reads.
Yeah, I think everybody's different. I think when we were talking about it, when I first came into the space, everybody wanted to be a gun reviewer. Everybody wanted to do EDC videos. Everybody wanted to do like, well, which carry belt is the best? And so in my mind, I thought, okay, that's what a YouTuber is. And then when I started actually making content, since I was an attorney, I thought it was important to put out some legal videos as well, and that's what resonated with the audience the most. I honestly didn't think anybody would watch them, because I was like, who would want to watch? And obviously I was wrong. And what's that's now become is not only has my channel grown, but it's opened this entire space on YouTube in the gun community where we have so many more channels that have started in the last like 2 years who are also taking up that mantle and coming at it their unique perspective. Like Jared from Guns and Gadgets was one of the first guys who really did it. And he's got his unique perspective. He's a good friend of mine. I talk to him every single day, but he comes from a police officer perspective. And he's got his style of doing it. I have my style of doing it. Four Boxes Diner's got his style of doing it. Braden from Lincoln Outdoors has his style. So everybody, it all adds to the community because, some people might not resonate with how I do my content. And I said, that's awesome. Go watch him. He might, go watch Jared. You might like his style better. You're still going to get similar information. Maybe it's not nerdy reading briefs like I like to do, but maybe that's not for you. So yeah. It's cool to see how the space has grown for sure.
Yeah. What influencers that are out there right now, like on YouTube, that you like watching?
It's hard because when you do YouTube, then you stop watching. But like when I first started doing YouTube, I watched a lot of John Lovell from Warrior Poet Society, a lot of Coleon Noir, and I watched a lot of Jared from Guns and Gadgets. Now I don't really watch a lot of 2A News guys because I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
So I've already read everything that they're talking about. I have my own perspective on it. So I don't watch their stuff as much unless they say like they send me a video and like, hey, check this out. What are your thoughts? I tend to watch entertainment now as far as the gun community because that's what I don't do. So I still watch a lot of Mike Jones from Grantham. I still watch Coleon Noir every once in a while. Still watch John Lovell stuff. The one I watch probably the most, which he used to be a lot of gun-related stuff. Now he does other things, is Talon Sai. So So he used to do a lot of EDC review stuff. Now he does overlanding and things like that, which I like, just to kind of get my mind off of.
Yeah.
You know,
I like calling the wars too because he's like he'll give you a little bit of kind of what's going on, and he like corrects the politicians when they like say something, and then he does do the gun reviews, which is pretty cool too. And the location where he does his gun reviews is
I watch a lot of gun review stuff now when I'm buying and whatnot. So like Mike from Mr. Guns and Gear, watch all of his stuff anytime we need a review. Honest Outlaw, he does gun review stuff that I watch. All of them are friends, so I tend to watch their stuff. Also, I prefer to go into my friends to watch their stuff if they're doing a review on a specific gun or optic or something.
So I know you said you got your Atlas. It's in 10-day jail right now.
The Staccato?
Yeah, Staccato. Was that maybe kind of like your dream gun? Like, oh yeah, this is the one I really want. Or is there still another one you really want?
I think for now, like that's fine. You know how it is in California. There's your list of dream guns that you would want to try is always long.
Yeah.
Staccato was one of the ones up there because I've talked to a lot of Staccato reps and they know that I have a YouTube channel and it's two-way related, but not everybody understands I'm in California. So sometimes I'll go to SHOT Show or USCCA Expo or something like that, and I'll meet reps, and they'll say, hey, we love what you do. We'd love to send you a Staccato. And my soul hurts because I'm in California and I can't have it unless I want to buy it off roster, at a crazy price. I'm not even going to tell you guys how much I spent on that thing because it's ridiculous.
We pay the premium here in California.
Yeah, it's insane what the laws do. So.
Yeah. So I know initially your channel was like more California-based cases, but now I think I've seen you do other states now.
So it's definitely evolved into something where it's more holistic. It started as pure California-based because that's what stuff impacted me the most, and I still do that. It's just now there's a lot of other things sprinkled in. So
and
a lot of national stuff, ATF stuff.
Yeah, other state stuff can also eventually lead to California. So it's all kind of under the same realm of it should be covered because it could affect us in a good or bad way.
Yeah, and it's all relevant, like you said, because, for example, with California's ban on so-called assault weapons, a lot of that language was adopted in Illinois with their recent one. And so since I've covered the California one so heavily and the litigation so heavily, now that they're going through that, I can almost see the playbook of exactly what they're doing, what this language means, that people maybe for the first time are approaching it, especially people in Illinois for the first time, maybe they're seeing some of this language. Yeah. Same thing with Washington, same thing with Oregon with their magazine ban. So
yeah, Oregon and Washington, that's pretty crazy. I think the last one was with Washington and the assault rifle ban and everything. It's crazy how they looked at what California is doing and we're like, oh, we're gonna one up them. We're gonna show you how to really punish them.
Yeah, it's always interesting with we're not gonna grandfather something in. We're gonna do total bans, especially Illinois. If I remember correctly, when I read their statute, they learned a lot from how California wrote their 30515 penal code, where we have the featureless grips, fin grips. Yeah. So they modified their statute to ban those also.
Crazy.
And a lot of other compliance features that we had. And they had outright bans on any threaded barrels on rifles altogether. So they can, and they also were banning muzzle brakes. So you know how we use muzzle brakes to get around some of the 30515 language. So they they just learned from California because we've litigated this and they learned from our statute. So
we have
any takers?
Just right there. Speak loud enough so they
can. Go ahead and say your name and what city you're from.
My name is Vernon Miller. I'm in Cypress, right up the street here, Orange County. Anthony, good to meet you.
Good to meet you, man.
One question right off the jump, I think a good one to start is your origins, kind of how you got into law and then how the two-way stuff, you got into that kind of.
Yeah. So with the legal side of stuff, I kind of always knew I wanted to be an attorney for the most part, and really that came, I think, from I used to spend a lot of time at my grandma's house, and she loved Law and Order and anything related to, crime shows. So as a kid, just watching that all the time, I thought that was really cool because they make it really fanciful. And it seems so cool. This attorney is walking in at the last moment with this new evidence that destroys this case. So I thought that was really cool. And then I went to undergrad, UC Santa Barbara. I was a history major because I always loved history. But the goal of that was always to go to law school because I knew I wanted to be an attorney, or at the time thought I knew I wanted to be an attorney, but yeah, through history. So usually they'll give you a few different tracks of undergrad degrees that you should do. So it's like philosophy, history, poli-sci. Usually it's anything that's kind of heavy written based and logic based. So I chose history since I already had an interest in it. And then I went to law school. Did I ever think I was going to do the two-way side of things? No. Never would have dreamed. I was always kind of interested in firearms, but I really got into firearms in undergrad because when I was at UC Santa Barbara, there was a school shooting my senior year, and a lot of my friends, of course, just because when you go to school, especially right now in universities, the teachers are very left-leaning, and it very shapes a lot of the students to be left-leaning. So a lot of my friends were just pushing the general narrative of gun control, more gun control. And me, since I was definitely right-leaning, I decided, okay, I don't know a ton about gun laws. I don't know a ton about firearms because I wasn't a gun nut, I guess they would call me now. I wasn't that then. So I decided to start doing my own research, and that pushed me to YouTube, where I started first watching people like Eric from Iraq Veteran, Hickok, all of those OG YouTube guys. And then I caught the bug, got really into firearms, went to law school, was part of like a two-way society thing, in law school group. Still never thought I was going to be doing anything two-way litigation. And really, the two-way side of it really sprung just from the YouTube channel, putting out there that, hey, this is something I'm really passionate about. Maybe there's a group of people that are really passionate about this also. And it's just kind of sprung. By the grace of God, it's just, sprung into what it is now. So never would have imagined. Yeah, so kind of quick origin story. I have a full video on my channel where I break that. I think even have maybe a podcast where I kind of go through it in more detail, but that's kind of just been the origin story, I guess, of Anthony.
We're glad you ended up where you're at now, because I think definitely for Californians, a lot of us, we get the notifications when you post a video and it's like, okay, we need to watch now because what's coming up, what happened, and where are we going. So obviously your content is very crucial to all of us here,
Appreciate that.
So.
Follow?
Part two,
Yeah.
I guess a good follow-up. In the YouTube space, we get into the comments.
Mm-hmm.
People like to target you sometimes, like, he's pushing this on us. We already heard this, yada, yada. But I think it's important to mention, it's about getting as many eyes as we can out there, as many impressions as we can. So, that's what you're doing for us. My question is, what can we do more, or where should we target right now? Content creation, what?
For just the general viewer. I always just, when people ask me what can you do as a viewer, definitely sharing our stuff is awesome. If you like Jared from Guns and Gadgets or any of those other guys, sharing their stuff on social media is awesome. But practically what you guys can do to make an impact is to join local orgs and state orgs and national orgs. Why I say that is because I'm actually very passionate about that, because we did that recently with CRPA in my local area. There was no CRPA local chapter, so we started one up. So I'm on the board of my local chapter, and then that sprung into another chapter and another one, and we're doing meetings every month. They're doing giveaways. They're spreading the news at the same way that I tried to do, just more at a local level, and trying to get people engaged in the fight in more traditional means for sure, because not everybody wants to sit and write a letter to a representative. Not everybody wants to call the call number, but the local groups are really good at that, and they're really good at mobilizing people to do that. So I always think, I put my money where my mouth is, and I did the same thing with my local chapters. If you decide you want to donate to certain groups, that's awesome too. I always recommend pick a national org that you like, pick a state org that you like, and just stick with those. Cover your bases, do a state and a national. I always recommend a lot. I'd say national level, I like FBC, GOA. I like what SAF is doing right now. State level, if you're in California, CRPA is the one. Gun Owners of California is great also. And then just become a member of your local orgs. So,
yeah, I think that's the thing. To help the fight, you have to remember all these organizations, they need the funding to keep the fight alive. And if us two enthusiasts are not helping that, we can't expect much, right? If you're not going to contribute to it, then you can't get upset that this happened or that happened. You have to be a part of it. to help fight the fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand or don't realize like how lean a lot of these organizations operate. You know, everybody thinks about the NRA, like not every org has the funding that the NRA does. I think when I became a CRPA with that board and I became a business affiliate, I put out maybe a couple videos and then I got a response back that like I was the #1 business affiliate in the state. And that doesn't make sense. I understand I have a lot of reach, but also the numbers didn't correlate. Like, how was I technically the #1 that they were telling me? Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But it's shocking to me, like how lean a lot of these groups are operating. So I always hate to push people to spend your money, but like $30 a month here and there, you're spending that more on fast food. I definitely spend more than that. You guys know I spend more than that on fast food. Right. So I do the same thing. I put my money where my mouth is. I donated thousands and thousands of dollars to local orgs, state orgs. I've spent my time helping local orgs. So, yeah.
If I may, that makes a lot of sense. You know, upon hearing, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm associated with, you know, NAGR, GOA, FPC, CRPA, but are we doing it as much as we can? Are we, you know, going to the events, supporting financially where we can? Yeah. It's a great point.
I mean, everybody's at different stages. Like, I don't expect everybody to be as rabid as me. But even I wasn't as rabid as me at this point. Like, you know, this has been an evolution over time. So I think it's not something like you have to do immediately. But, you know, just getting involved, going to a couple chapter meetings here and there. When CRPA is holding events in the state, go do that, meet like-minded people, especially in California. Because sometimes it's hard to find like-minded people in California. So
makes sense. If we're looking for a way to do more, it's a great way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That person was not destined to win. All right, let's see. Bob Sellers?
Do we have a Bob Sellers here?
We have a Bob Sellers in here.
No. Probably. It's okay as long as his phone number's on there, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
his phone
All
number's
right.
on there.
So congrats, Bob. You're the 12 o'clock winner. I think we did 2 12 o'clock winners, but that's okay. All right. You guys have any questions? Anything? Anybody have any questions? Go ahead. Yeah. Your name and where you're from.
My name's Pete. Anaheim, I guess. Los Angeles originally. So, first off, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, man.
Because honestly, there's a lot, like on YouTube, there's a lot to kind of filter through, and your stuff is like straight to the point. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
So going off of that, I know you, lawyer, law school, but for people who don't have that background, where do you point them to find the type of info? Like if you want to delve in further, read the stuff yourself, is it just kind of a hodgepodge of websites, or is it somewhere specific you point people to?
It just depends. I think right now Twitter's become a really good space. Mm-hmm. Twitter's a pretty good space right now of people sharing information, especially when cases break and things like that happen. A really good resource actually is Rob Romano from 2A Updates. You follow him on Twitter. Every time something 2A related hits a docket that he thinks is important, he puts that out there. He was with FBC when I was working with him, so that's a really good resource if you want to like have the documents and read them for yourself. Outside of you maybe getting like a Pacer account yourself and pulling dockets and following stuff, I mean, I would say maybe Twitter. Rob also does a really cool thing with Airtable, where he has a list of all the cases that maybe you would find interesting, and they're broken down into like Supreme Court, circuit courts, district courts. So if there's a specific one you're interested in, he has it like all categorized for you. So you can go click on it. I think, for example, he has Duncan. If you clicked on Duncan, it'll redirect you to pages that he found that reference that case. So I think with Duncan, maybe it's like CRPA's stuff, Michelle and Associates stuff, but also court listeners, the good stuff. So those are all, he'll link to all those. So he kind of consolidates it all for you. But those are other good resources. Following FBC's website for their tracking of their cases. GOA does the same thing. Michelle and Associates does it for CRPA. So those are all good resources if you're interested. But I guess the hard thing is knowing what you would be interested in. But I would suspect if you're going to that level of wanting to be engaged, you kind of know what cases or what issues you're interested in. So
I would say more local, like more California law, and then any other state that would pertain and kind of, getting over the hump on this state?
Yeah,
particularly?
I think if you're looking California-specific stuff, Michelle and Associates CRPA, because they handle a lot of that. FBC handles a lot of California cases. SAF is starting to, our Second Amendment Foundation is starting to dip their toes into doing some California stuff. So following those 3 orgs and their resources for when they're linking to their cases, I think you'll be good with that if you just want to follow California stuff.
See, we're lazy, so we just wait for the next Armed Scholar video to drop. And
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of like, maybe I should, kind of take the next step. But I guess the second part to that question is, what is your opinion on where California is going now, especially with, the recent court victories and everything else? And what do you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but in your opinion, how do you feel this is playing out, and what kind of timeline do you think we're looking at here? I know that's a difficult one.
Timeline's hard. They had asked me this on their podcast this morning. I think we're in a better position than we've ever been in California, for sure. I think we're in a better position nationally than we've ever been as far as 2A litigation. And a lot of that is because the way that the attorneys for, let's say, the state of California or the ATF or whoever, the positions they used to take in these lawsuits, they really didn't have to do their job. Before, they would just say whatever public interest was the basis for their infringement. So when it was magazines, they said, we are going to have a 10-round magazine capacity because it's going to stop mass shootings. And then the courts would say, that's good enough. So for the longest time when we litigate all these cases, we had to fight them at that level. Now with Bruin, we get to kind of go to the first principles foundation stuff, where it's, what does the text of the Second Amendment say? The shirt, text, history, and tradition. What does the text say? What is the history and tradition relating to that? So we're in a better spot now where 2A attorneys definitely get to be more on the tack with our litigation. And I think you're also seeing that impact a lot more cases where we're getting injunctions faster than we ever have. We're seeing these cases get escalated through the appeals process faster than they ever have. Because we as gun owners have a very short memory, I think sometimes. We forget that like early Duncan, early Miller, like some of these cases were filed in 2017. The speed at which they used to move was a lot slower. Now, let's just take Illinois. When they passed their statute banning so-called assault weapons, district court ruled on it, injunction. Then it went to the appeals court, 7th Circuit. We got a stay. And then it was escalated to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court kind of said, hey, maybe we'll address this. I don't know. But they denied it after the 7th Circuit expedited the appeal. That whole timeline right there used to take probably 2 years. And now it's happening in months. So I think we're in a...
And that's kind of why I bring it up, because
Yeah.
it seems like things are just moving exponentially.
Things are
more
moving
than-
faster,
more than
but
before.
I think a lot of that comes down to if the courts are going to play ball. And it's hard for me when people ask me specifically about like California and the Miller and the Duncan cases, all that. The 9th Circuit traditionally has not played ball, and then that's shown by they're the most reversed appeals court out of any circuit court. So it really just comes down to, I guess, how they want to handle this. What we saw is they were not interested at the time of even wanting to dip a toe in these issues. So they remanded all the cases. So we'll see. Hopefully we get some positive. But I mean, as far as timeline, if I were just to be realistic, couple years. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want. There's stuff that can happen in between that, but I think when a lot of people focus on like a final resolution of a case, like an absolute resolution on a case, on the merits of the case, some of these, depending on what their posture is, it's going to take a couple years. So,
Crazy.
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
All right, go ahead and say your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Thomas. I'm from Los Angeles, and my question is, what would your guys' opinions be on some states banishing grandfather clauses from handing firearms down the family tree? How do you guys feel? How would you guys feel about that?
Of them outright banning, like the inheritance mechanism of it?
Yes.
I mean, I'm against magazine bans in general because you're banning an arm protected by the text of the Second Amendment. So we've seen states be pretty aggressive in that. I want to say, was it Oregon? I think Oregon included that, where they maybe didn't have an inheritance mechanism in it. So yeah, I'm against any magazine ban in general. So,
And if it was for firearms as well, just generally, if they tried to stop that process of inheritance,
yeah,
how could we combat that? How can we,
it's just that I think the arguments are very similar to the arguments we're making right now. I think if we get to the point where we're arguing about inheritance bans, if that's all that's left, we're in a pretty good spot. That's not to say we wouldn't fight those. We would absolutely fight those like full force. But if that's all we're fighting about, then we've had a lot of wins. A lot of the inheritance stuff is probably going to get consumed by this other litigation we have, as far as the Miller case, challenging the Miller case and some of the restrictions on that. It's going to probably consume some of that. The Duncan case, because the Duncan case is revived essentially because of how California went in and retroactively banned grandfathered magazines in a very similar way. So a lot of that case decision is probably going to consume some of those things that you're talking about.
Okay. All right. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
appreciate it, man.
Thank you. All right. Got some more questions? Anybody want to ask anything? Don't be shy. All right. Just say your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Sawyer. I'm from HB. My question was specifically for California. What's the process of a family member wanting to give you a firearm that is off the roster? What laws is that? Are you able to do that?
So there's a little bit of nuance. I'll say that.
Okay.
It depends. So some firearms can't be inherited. So for example, under the California ban on so-called assault weapons, you can't inherit those.
Okay.
So similar to what the last question was about how there's some inheritance restrictions on some firearms.
Okay.
And then as far as inheritance in general, California has a traditional up-down inheritance, even for off rosters. So if father to son, grandpa to grandson, husband, wife is okay, children is okay, uncles, no, siblings, no. So you just need to look at, if you need to look at it as an up-down traditional inheritance style, and then is that specific firearm in question generally banned from the inheritance mechanism? So
Yeah. So if you have a relative that's out of state
Yeah.
that wants to send you something, like gift it to you, it has to be up and down lineage. Your dad, your grandpa, your great grandfather. It cannot go sideways. So cousins, brothers, it's got to go straight up and down.
Yeah, and then the mechanism for that is just if you go to the DOJ's CFARs and all that stuff, they have the whole
List of weapons.
all that stuff. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Cool. Is there any cases you're currently involved in right now?
Not by name, and not that I could technically say I'm involved in, or I'm allowed to say I'm involved in.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Cool. All right. Got any more questions from you guys? So
Follow up on his. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How does that transfer work? They don't need to be here. It sounds like it just have to be on
No.
CFARs online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they would have to, when
gotta-
they send it to you here, they would have to also include a gift letter saying, I, so-and-so, John Smith, gifting my son or grandson this firearm, and he's got to write that letter and then include his ID, and then it gets shipped into us, and then we can run that intrafamiliar transfer.
Yeah, I would say in generally, like, that's why it's important, like, not to toot Rifle Supply's horn. Sounded weird. But I think finding a good gun store, like, that's why I really like Rifle Supply. Finding a good gun store that is willing to do those things, understands the process, does it well, it's really invaluable. I know sometimes, it was funny, I put up a post a while back, not necessarily throwing shade at any specific gun store, but just saying I had posted a picture of one specific gun store that I really like in the Fresno area. And to see the response of some other gun stores was shocking to me. And a lot of gun stores in California, even when it's a purely legal thing, like 100% legal for you to do it, for whatever reason, they'll shy away from whatever process that is. So I think just having a good relationship with a good gun store who's willing to do those things for
Yeah.
you. So,
I mean, they're allowed to. You're allowed
Yeah.
to do them by law. So we're nobody to, not give you that right to have
Yeah.
your grandfather send you something. Or
I've
your
heard some
dad
gun
or-
stores won't even deal in consignments before, which baffles my mind.
Yeah.
So I think you guys are lucky in this area. If you're in driving distance from Rifle Supply, I think you guys will be fine.
Hi there, John, Laguna Hills, California. Who am I speaking to?
Raul.
Okay, hi, Raul.
Hi.
A question you may not get. I know as of late, a lot of less than lethal firearms are coming on the market. and they fire different types of projectiles, salt, pepper spray, rubber bullets, that kind of thing. Where does that fall in? I know what the laws and rules are for firearms that shoot, cartridges.
Yeah.
But what can you tell me about the less than lethal? Are you under the same rules? I mean, am I going to go to jail if I shoot someone with a pepper projectile out of a...
No, I think anybody can just buy them off the shelf if I'm correct. I think you can, like Berna, I believe, is one of them, where it's
Right.
like a pepper spray gun.
Right.
Anybody can just buy those off the shelf. It's not you really like background check or none of that stuff. Like,
Okay.
So for that process, I mean, obviously you're doing something that, like anything, right, with the firearm, like you're doing something that could hurt someone.
Right.
So would there be like legal repercussions on that? Like, I'm sure you're defending yourself. It doesn't matter if it's with a firearm or a bat, right? Like either way, you're gonna need insurance to protect yourself, and that's smart. You should. Obviously, we here at the shop, we deal with USCCA, and we always recommend everybody that people think like USCCA is like just a firearm self-defense. Like, no, like you're at home, somebody breaks into your house and you have a bat and you're going to use a bat to protect your home. Like, that's self-defense. So there's self-defense insurance. So no matter what, like, it's insurance that everybody should have. Because no matter if you're going to protect yourself with a pepper spray gun or a lethal gun, like, they're going to be there to help you because it's self-defense.
So, I mean, on the legal basis, you would still look at the same similar standards for self-defense, but you just wouldn't be looking at the lethal force requirements. The self-defense standards still apply. It would be proportionality, the imminence of the harm that was going to occur to you. So you still look at the same standards, and that's what you would apply. So it's very similar. It's just you would not be at the point of, okay, was your lethal force proportional to some sort of great bodily injury, death, or feared death? It's similar, still similar mechanisms, but you're just not to the level of lethal force at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for asking.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad were Tristan's jokes?
They were like a 1-ish, 1.5. He had to work on those. I think he Googled like Dr. Seuss and then did lawyer after that, and then that's where those jokes came
I
from.
appreciate the hustle. I think his tactic was, I'm going to Google lawyer jokes, and if I don't understand them, then they've got to be funny to a lawyer. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work.
Oh, where's our guy at? Where'd he go?
I was just trying to do it when he's not here.
Yeah, don't be shy. Ask away.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
My name is Mike with Delta Defense. We talk about a lot of reactionary lawsuits, legal proceedings, but what can we do from a preemptive situation, like lobbying our representatives from elections and things of that sort? The process of getting people more involved in that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's something I talk about a lot. When I cover like certain bills that are introduced, people say like, "Why are you covering this? It's not passed yet." Because if we're fighting something, like you said, at a reactionary basis where something's already passed, it's an uphill battle still. Like, yes, we have good precedent on our side now from the Supreme Court to challenge these things, but it's still years worth of battles. So it's better to fight them before they ever pass. And a lot of that is like what I'm trying to do is just bring awareness to some of these things. Yes, lobbying really works. Writing letters to your representatives is really good, and they hate it, and it really upsets them. So recently we did something with GOA, specifically to the ATS pistol brace rule. There was a lot of Republicans in the House who were messing with the House Judiciary Resolution, but they weren't really moving on it as fast as we as content creators thought that they should be. So we decided, along with GOA, to send them a very strongly worded letter that they need to do their job. And it made enough noise where we heard back from a lot of those people in Congress that they didn't appreciate what we were doing. It's not the way that you're supposed to do it. But it also moved. Then we saw follow-up emails where they were like, okay, now we're going to start trying to move on
what
it.
would be more effective? Handwritten, email, what media?
Handwritten's always best.
Okay.
Handwritten is always best.
There's always that people having conversations.
Yeah.
Is email better? Because I can blast all these guys. Is it handwritten?
So emails, they'll ignore emails. Emails is probably on the low end of the totem pole.
Okay.
I would say handwritten letters, call their office, and then social media, going directly to their social media. So if they have a Twitter or a presence like on Twitter,
Okay.
just put them on blast on their Twitter. Works really well. I did that with one of my local representatives who's a acclaimed Republican, but he voted in favor of national red flag laws.
Oh.
And so I blasted him on my Instagram. And now obviously I have a larger presence, but I heard back that he did not like that, which I'm glad. I'm glad he didn't like that because I didn't like what he had voted for.
Correct.
So that works really well, and I think that's going to grow in importance as social media is becoming even more important. But I think just a letter is still king as of right now because it's physical. It has to go to the office. One of their staffers has to open it, has to read it to see what it's about, and if you do that in good enough numbers, then it stacks up. So I think one of the orgs that's really good at that is NAGR. They're really good at blasting representatives with actual physical letters, which they don't like. So
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate that.
Interesting. Yeah, you figured most people would just want to, the easiest way would be like, oh, I'm going to write this one email and I'll just send it to 20 representatives. So,
well, I mean, you have to think about it. If it's easy for you to do, it's easy for them to ignore.
There you go. Smart. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. So I know we have CRPA here. Okay, let's get Ethan in here real quick. Say your name, where you're from, and what you do here at Ref Supply.
Not where I work. Work at Rifle Gear. Hey, my name's Ethan. I'm the customer rep here. I just want to ask, do you got your carry gun on you today?
Yes.
You guys, Justin here told me you had an SRO on it. Just want to talk about what goes into setting up your carry gun and what makes it work for you.
Yeah, so the one I have on me today isn't actually the one with the SRO. So I guess to give you, this is getting into the weeds of like, not even tactics because I'm not a tactical guy, but just like some mentality. If I'm doing an event like this where I'm going to be up and down, walking super, super active all day, I tend to carry smaller, which I know maybe is counterproductive, but it's just so I can have it on me all day and I can just be comfortable. But my day-to-day life, if I'm just going to run to the grocery store, I traditionally just have my Glock 19 on me, have an SRO on it because I like the red dot. I like the field of view. It's larger. I know some people say, well, they're not as durable as an armor, but I'm not in Afghanistan. Sorry, I'm just a fat attorney that's going to Walmart or whatever. It'll handle what I need it to do. On one of them, I have a ramjet afterburner on it, a Radian ramjet afterburner, and then it has a stippling job from Alpha 6 Defense back there on it. And I carry appendix, all my firearms. So it just is situations are situational. So it just depends on what I carry.
Sweet.
Nice.
So, hey, well, stay safe out there.
I appreciate it, man.
So Ethan is a big SRO guy, big Beretta guy. But
I get behind the SRO, but the Beretta is little. Berettas are fun. But
here we're kind of known as the Beretta boys. There's at least 4 or 5 of us that shoot Berettas. We love Berettas, and it's a well-built gun. It's reliable, shoots flat. So we love Berettas. But what are you carrying today, Yogi?
26.
26?
Yeah.
Same. 26 boys.
Yeah.
Dang.
Short and stubby.
Wait, you talking about my gun or me?
Hey. Self-description.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah. This is Yogi on the mic. He is the most interesting man in the world, but he doesn't like people to know.
What is the goal for the channel? And we know what you're going through now, and obviously all these people appreciate everything you're doing. But what is the 5-year, the 10-year goal, or what's the end game that you want to see to happen for all of us, statewide, nationwide? Yeah.
My goal with the channel is for it to no longer be important. If my channel no longer has to, I almost got emotional.
Yeah.
If my channel no longer needs to be there, then we've done our job. And I have a law degree. I've practiced law. I've done other things. I will ride off into the sunset knowing I did my part. So that's the goal with the channel, is for it to no longer be necessary. If I have to turn it into something else, because the battle will never technically end. But if we win the Second Amendment fight and we have to go to the First Amendment fight or the 10th Amendment fight, whatever it needs to be, maybe we'll make that pivot at that point. But that's kind of the goal, is to reach the audience, get Americans and responsible individuals engaged in the fight to where we win. And then, at that point, all we got to do is preserve. So
Nice.
that's kind of the goal.
That's a great answer. All right, it's going good so far. I know. Anybody else have any questions? Anything, you guys?
Yeah.
State your name, where you're from.
I'm Dom, and wrong meeting. I have a question. What do you like to do for fun, like outside of firearms, outside of your YouTube channel? Like, you're there on a Saturday night or whenever you have a day off, like, what is your go-to to de-stress?
Is there such thing as de-stressing?
I don't know.
So one of the things I enjoy and I've gotten back into now is doing jiu-jitsu. So it's something I've always enjoyed doing, but I hurt my back a while back, so it's caused me some issues. And finally, it's kind of back under management. One of my coaches, there he is, right there. We got me on a fitness program and got me back to training and trying to be healthier. So that's been that's helped me actually get out of the house, because I was spending weeks on end in my house, and that's just horrible for your mentality.
You okayed the McDonald's breakfast sandwich this morning?
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu, nice, man.
Yeah.
That's
and then,
awesome.
going to the range. It's fun to go to the range. Everybody
Yeah.
loves going to the range.
That's always a nice distressor.
I love going to the movies. Me and my wife are huge movie buffs, so we go see way too many movies in theaters. Not so much anymore because of the weight loss program. So my big thing is, if I go to movies, I have to have a giant bucket of popcorn and soda. Like, it's just, maybe it's because when I was a kid, we never got to have it. So now every time I go, like, I want to indulge. So I've tried to stay away from the movies for the last, couple months. So
now that, like, you're, I say, celebrity status, right? Now that, like, when you go to the movies or go somewhere, do people, like, spot you out? Like, oh, there's Arm Scholar, Do you get that yet, or?
Yeah, it depends. It's just when you say celebrity or star, it's hilarious. Just a clown in front of a camera in my spare bedroom. But yeah, it'll happen occasionally. It just depends on where I'm going. The most recent one was my wife and I recently went to Costco, and 3 guys there recognized me from the channel, took photos with them. So it's hit or miss. It's not like every time I go out, someone will recognize me. It's definitely nowhere. I'm not Garantham. Come on now. No, I'm not Coleon Noir. So
Not yet.
Not yet. He's gonna get there. It's crazy only because, like, our guys, I try to do my best on, like, putting our guys on the social media so people see the behind the scenes. They see, our shipping department. They see our sales guys. They see our, manufacturing guys. And believe it or not, like, locally here, like, they get that a lot. I get that a lot. Justin, John, like, they see us out there and they're like, oh, you guys are the Rifle Supply guys. And it's crazy because I don't think any other gun shop kind of gets that recognition. So it kind of feels good that customers and clients, they see us and they acknowledge us and they appreciate us,
Yeah, I mean, and I think we were talking about this. I was talking with Justin last night at dinner. I mean, when I first found out about you guys was at the Route 66 event we did. And from where you guys were then to now, like, your guys' branding, the community you've built, the growth of your business, it's amazing. So, I mean, you guys definitely, you've earned that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always soon
a good you'll be walking in Costco.
Oh,
They'll
man.
recognize you as the Rifle Supply guy.
No,
Usually it's like, hey, are you that guy on YouTube? That's usually what it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Vince from Orange County.
Yeah.
I got a question. Is it worth it to even get a carry concealed in California, or is it, like, banned to go anywhere with it?
Your concealed carry permit?
Yeah.
If you can get your concealed carry permit, get your concealed carry permit.
Okay. Because I heard anywhere within 1,000 feet, this and that.
Well, so
places
probably what you're referencing is the new bill they're trying to pass, but it's not passed yet.
Okay.
Yes, so they are trying to pass a very restrictive
That's what I was
response.
looking into.
CRPA is going to fight it. There's going to be a ton of lawsuits against that. They haven't passed it yet, so.
What is that new one, though? What does it pertain to?
Think of the New York one. So if you guys are familiar with, like, the Concealed Carry Improvement Act in New York, it's similar in nature. So they've modified it here and there. So last year they had one. and then it didn't get passed because they were trying to do it through an expedited like process, and they were 1 vote away. And now they've modified it a little bit. It's got some enhanced permitting process requirements. It's got, like he was mentioning, some restrictions on specific areas. It enhances the specifically named sensitive locations to include like medical areas, malls,
Playgrounds,
any
malls,
restaurants that
anywhere,
serve alcohol.
practically everywhere.
And then you have catch-all
What I was looking
provisions,
at.
which some people are calling the vampire rule, where it's the business has to invite you in like you're a vampire.
Exactly.
So it's very expansive for sure, but like we've seen in New York and like we've seen in New Jersey, they have similar laws, and both of them have been found unconstitutional. Still litigation's ongoing right now, but if California passes that, which again our goal is to make sure they don't pass it. We were successful last time by 1 vote. It was a different process definitely, so we'll have to be even more rabid about our opposition to it. So. But hopefully it doesn't get passed. But yes, if you can get your CCW permit, get your CCW permit.
Yeah.
What county are you from?
I'm in Orange County.
Oh yeah,
Born and raised Orange County.
Yeah, so it's definitely it's easy here.
Yeah,
it's
I've got my contractor's license, so I'm pretty much pass and approve. I just need to do that.
Yeah, here in Orange County,
but
we
they're gonna
actually
do the renewal. What's the whole bid on that?
We don't. I mean, I don't think we really know until
16 hours or 8 hours still.
So they enhanced both of them. I
They
think
did?
the language. The last time I looked at the language, it was enhanced on both. It was the initial went to 16, the renewal went to 8.
Okay.
So.
I did one 4 hours just last week.
Yeah, so the one right now. So, but this is with the new bill. They're trying to enhance. Yeah. They're trying to enhance. So that's why I said that the process is more restrictive than it's ever potentially could be more restrictive. No, not yet.
Yeah. Not yet.
So this is the potential bill.
And in Orange County, we actually don't even go to an office. We do Zoom calls for our CCW permit.
Okay.
So literally, you can book your appointment online, and they'll give you a packet of stuff you got to fill out online. You send that all in. You get your appointment date, and then when you do your interview, it'll be over a Zoom call. So you don't even have to go to any buildings or anything.
That's even better.
It is. It's
Cool, man.
like Orange County. They make it super easy for us.
A lot of people think that it's interesting that it's very hard to get your concealed carry in California. Like some areas definitely.
Now on carrying in your car and everything, is it still locked up the same way?
If you have
or
your concealed
you
carry
just
permit now,
able
I have my permit. It's on me.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be in your backpack. Could
That's
be in
pretty
your
cool. Right.
pouch.
That was a huge question that I was wondering because I'm like, they're so strict on having it locked up like crazy that it's like, how could you even defend yourself?
Yeah, so the transportation laws and some of the safe storage laws, although I don't think it's expressly stated as an exemption, I would have to go back and look at the penal code, but your concealed carry permit is an exemption essentially for that because they can't say that, yeah, we're going to let you concealed carry, but you have to have it unloaded in a locked container every time you transport it.
It's kind of, they say yes, then they say no, and it's always weird with California.
Yeah, and even better now that the good cause is gone. It literally makes it way easier.
Yeah.
Like when I got mine, the owner of the company had to write a letter for me, like why I needed it working at a gun shop. And now that's done. We don't need that at all.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right, any of you guys, here you go. Your name and where you're from.
Brendan, I'm from Huntington Beach.
Nice.
And you may have already answered this. I was up at the counter, so it's kind of two things. With all the wrangling that's going over the pistol brace rule right now, and the ATF flip-flopping, and even in that congressional hearing where the director said, "Oh, you just pull it apart. You can keep them both." And then 6 days later, they said, "Oh, no, it's going to be constructive intent if you get caught with them." Okay, so do you think that we're going to get any injunctive relief before it gets to the Supreme Court? And if we don't, and it does go to the Supreme Court, do you believe the recent ruling against the EPA is going to come in?
Yeah, so a couple things on that. So we did receive an injunction from the Fifth Circuit. When I say we, it's because I'm going to say that I'm a member of FBC.
Right.
So we did receive an injunction in that regard. I've talked to the attorneys, Stephen Stambouli, if he's watching this, from GOA. They've submitted that decision in their GOA lawsuit, which is the GOA in Texas lawsuit. SAF already got a speculative injunction, and they're seeking to expand it as well, similar.
Those cover the plaintiffs that are mentioned in the
It covers
proceeding, right?
it covers the organizations and their members that they represent.
So you're a member of the FPC.
I'm a member of FBC.
So
yes.
so anybody that signed up and joined after that date
Well,
Doesn't
so
get
I
the
can't
injunctive
I can't represent. This is not legal advice. All I can tell you is when I asked FBC that specific question that you're asking, they said we read it to say all members, and we represented from the beginning in our briefs that all members. We were representing all members.
Oh, okay.
So, and right now they are actively, if you look at their social media, I think if you guys are members of FBC, you got the email that says like, hey, you're a member, you're covered by the injunction. So FBC, it appears, I don't want to speak for them because I'm not an employee of them, but it appears like that's what they're representing, that it's all members. We will see, I guess, how some of these other organizations represent it if they get a similar injunction. And I would suspect probably sometime this week we're going to hear about GOAs and the expansion maybe of SAF. And then one of the interesting ones is the FRAC lawsuit, because FRAC is joined with 25 states, and the states' AGs are filing the lawsuit on behalf of citizens of their states.
Okay.
Now, sucks for us because we're in California, and our attorney general would never join a lawsuit like that. But if FRAC got a similar injunction with the similar language that FBC just got, there potentially could be at least 25 states, not including Texas if they got their own lawsuit. So there could be 26 states that are covered by an injunction, including all of their residents. So that's a little bit speculation, but that's kind of how I see that going.
The ATF's just getting hammered all the way around.
Yeah, they're big mad right now. They shut down the comments on their Instagram because they were getting lit up.
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, they're not too happy. Now, that's not to say that even if you are a member of FBC or one of these other orgs, if they get an injunction, the ATF could always still knock on your door one day and pull you in and say, no, you're in illegal possession of an SBR that wasn't registered on the NFA. Here we have to worry about Cal DOJ.
Right.
They could do the same thing. You're also violating state law by being in possession of an NFA item that you're not permitted to have in the state of California. Now your affirmative defense would be, well, this injunction is supposed to cover all members of the FBC, but again, it's an affirmative defense. So it's a defense you would have to put on.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Sweet. Questions?
It's just your defense that you would put forward for. You can't say I engaged in criminal conduct because what I was doing was not criminal. Essentially, in the basic terms, you're litigating the case. Yeah. Yep.
My question is, I've been following you for quite a while, and my interpretation of what they put in the writing from the court, I don't know how much they're going to follow this, but according to what it said in what I read, was that you had to be a member from the beginning, not new people.
Yeah, similar to what I was just talking with him, because that was the same when I
was in the bathroom.
Yeah, no problem. So when I first put out my video, I had the same questions, and I represented my video like, hey, I still have some of these questions. I reached out to FBC and their attorneys. They said that we believe it represent all members, and I believe now, and again, I can't represent because I'm not one of their employees anymore, but they've been putting out emails saying, hey, if you're a member of FBC, you're covered, and it seems very much like they're putting forward representation that if you're a member, and it wasn't necessarily that you're a member at the beginning of the lawsuit. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I interpreted it.
Yeah, and when I read, because in my video what I did is, because what everybody's latching on is to that last piece of language that the court is quoting from, and it says like at the time of the litigation or at the outset of this litigation.
Right.
If you pull the brief that the court grabbed that language from, which was FPC's brief, that whole section they're just talking about, we filed this lawsuit for our members. We filed this lawsuit for our members. We are not representing, they're representing themselves as an organization, but we're primarily fighting for an injunction for our members. So the whole time they were trying to seek something for the entire subset of their members. It wasn't like a specific class or subset of members. It was they had never cabined their arguments to say we are only representing members that when we first filed this lawsuit, it was all members. So that is, I believe, the position FBC is also taking right now. Right. I know some other guys who have channels have talked with FBC also, and there's a lot of guys with other channels like Jared from Guns and Gadgets. He says that they told him the same thing, that it's all members. I believe there's a couple other guys who have talked with them who seem to be of the same mindset. But yeah, like I said, if you find solace in that, that's great. I don't think it's a bad idea just in general to be a member of orgs. It's going to cost you, I think, maybe $20-$30 a month, something like that to be a member. Most of us spend more than that just on a day-to-day basis.
All right. Is there any cases going on right now that you're just excited about because maybe you feel like there's going to be a good outcome?
I think we talked about it earlier, but I think the Cargill case was good. I think the California stuff, obviously, I'm always excited about that because I'm also a California gun owner, so it's going to impact me directly.
Yeah.
I think like everybody else. I mean, I probably even today alone, I've answered 20 questions about what's going on with Miller, what's going on with Duncan, what's taking Benita so long.
What's taking Benita so long?
Yeah.
Come on,
I think on the podcast with you guys, three of you asked me the same thing.
It's on Benitez' desk. Why hasn't he just signed it yet?
So that stuff's that's exciting, obviously. But I think at the national level, I think the Cargill case is pretty interesting, for sure. And I think the pistol brace thing is going to become really important as well.
Yeah, that one's huge. Cool. So we have someone here that has a question. Step up to the mic and then say your name and where you're from.
I'm Bob Greer. I'm from San Diego, RSO at South Bay Rod and Gun Club. My question, and I think I posed it to you online, I didn't get an answer, was why can't we somehow sue to remove two words from the lexicon of these people, sovereign and immunity?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we got away from the British, so nobody's sovereign, and I don't think anybody should be above the law, so nobody should have immunity. I think that maybe indemnity, but not immunity. We should be able to sue like Gavin Newsom for continually and knowingly violating our constitutional rights.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I disagree with you. I think that's not. It's sad to say, I don't think that's as hot of a topic, even sometimes within our own community, but people definitely on the other side, they don't want to hold politicians. I think earlier we had someone ask about why aren't we holding certain people accountable for their oaths of office and other things, officers or whatever. It's an issue. Do I think that's going to happen anytime soon? I don't think so.
Well, I was just hoping that we could somehow sue him like the FEC did for the pistol brace thing, and then if we're all party to the lawsuit, then if we could take $5 each out of his bank account, maybe he would stop doing what he's doing.
For are you talking about the ATF specifically, or for Newsom?
Well, I mean, for continually proposing, signing, enforcing unconstitutional laws.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the most direct course for us to do that stuff is the way we're doing litigations right now. Like I said, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we're trying to directly hold specific politicians accountable for them writing and passing specific laws, or governors for signing into certain effect laws, or even the DOJ enforcing those unconstitutional laws.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is, it takes us a long time to overturn this stuff, but they could just pass, propose it, pass it, whether it makes any sense or not.
Yeah.
And they just keep doing it. Okay, you got that one, let me give you another one, another one, another one.
Yeah, I think that's, I know a lot of people get frustrated with how slow the process works, but that is a function of how our founders intended things to operate. It was not supposed to be, laws are not supposed to get passed fast. Litigation is not necessarily supposed to change things fast. It's supposed to be a slow-moving cog to the machine. Now, I think at some level, our opposition has been really good at streamlining those processes by putting in place judges or politicians. I think maybe immediately the best impact we can have is doing, using their strategy as well, putting in place. And I think we did that to some degree with the Supreme Court. And earlier this morning, we talked about some of the impacts Trump has had on the two-way, despite people having certain criticisms of him. But I think the good things he's done is definitely the Supreme Court, and then also putting in place a lot of federal district court judges and circuit court judges who have helped us in these battles. So, yeah, it's hard when you say can we do something, pass something that's just going to wipe all this stuff off, all completely away, so we don't have to deal with any of these litigations? Not really. It's going to be incremental chipping away with lawsuits. So
Thank you very much.
Cool. All right. Anybody else have a question?
I got one question.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I get one of them T-shirts?
So T-shirts will be for sale soon. So these are my shirts. It's going to be some of the new shirts that I'm releasing. They're going to be available on TriStar Trading Co. So if you know Johnny B, his channel, he's another YouTuber. He owns TriStar Trading Co. So he's doing, this is my specific shirt, and then there's going to be another one that just is kind of green like his shirt, and then it just says armed in red, white, and blue, and it says built and maintained. So I think in about a couple weeks, they're printing them right now, so they're just trying to get the volume so when we release it. So I'll announce it on my social media and videos and all that when they're ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate
and then
it.
when he releases it, we'll make sure we'll pump that and we'll push out that content.
Do me a favor, because I watch I subscribe. Just give me a cue when you're putting them out. Just
Yeah.
Brett, your T-shirt's ready.
Okay. Will do.
Shout out. Yeah, give me a shout out.
Brett from Rifle Supply. You remember you wanted your shirt? Get your shirt.
Brett from Scotland in the communist state of California.
Yeah.
I'm still fighting for this state, and hopefully they'll turn it around. But
Yeah.
until they do, we just got to keep fighting.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have a great day.
You too.
You too,
Appreciate it.
You too.
Have a good one. Anybody else have any question, anything they want to ask live on the podcast? You guys are good? Cool. Yeah, I know some of you guys probably want to talk with him, separately, get some photos up, stuff like that. Obviously, we appreciate Anthony taking time out of his vacation and coming to see us and sit with us. We filmed the podcast this morning, so that'll be on Shoot the Mike's podcast probably by the end of this week. And then obviously, he decided he wanted to do this for you guys because, it is hard when you comment or send a message, and I'm sure he gets thousands daily when he drops a video. So that's always tough to get a hold of him or ask him that question, So he wanted to do this for you guys, and we're definitely we were honored. Cool, let's do this. So hopefully we do more events with him in the future, and who knows what they look like. But we're excited, and definitely once more court cases, let's say, go in our favor, we'll have him back on the podcast, and he gets to talk about that kind of stuff.
Bore you guys some more like the podcast this morning.
No, we love it.
I appreciate you guys. Rifle Supply has been awesome. Like I said, I think the first time I found out about you guys was at the first Route 66 event we did, and since then, seeing you guys, what's happened, the community you guys have built on your own.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a no-brainer when you guys said, when I was like, hey, I want to come by, and you guys were like, hey, do you want to do some sort of a little event or something? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Appreciate you guys coming out too. I'll tell them I didn't think anybody would come. So,
he was being totally humble and thought.
I got one more question over here.
Yeah,
Are you
go
still
ahead.
taking questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead, one last one. Go ahead.
I was wondering about that pistol brace rule, and I saw the injunctions. So I own a AR pistol that's got Maxim parts on it, and I also am a member of the FPC. So I was wondering, am I covered?
Yeah, so we've probably, this is one of the other hot topics of the day. So I can't really represent I don't work as an employee for FBC anymore. I can't say what their belief is. When I did talk to one of their attorneys, he said that they believe it covers all members. Now, what that means, it seems like they're representing that it means all members, past, future, current, is what I gather. I also got an email saying, hey, you are a member, so you're covered by the injunction. So it appears that, yes, it's not just covering it. It clearly is not covering just FBC, but it's members. I think the debate was it members that were members at the time they filed the lawsuit? It appears to me, when I look at kind of the Fifth Circuit's clarification and also how FBC's been responding to it, it seems like it's covering all members as intended. So, but I think we're going to see it also being eventually applied to GOA's members and SAF's members and FRAC in the 25 states. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's close this out. Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate you being
brother.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned. This is going to be awesome, and you guys can ask more questions and do some photo ops. So cool. We are
Awesome.
out.
Thanks, guys.